Good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Kaminsky. I'm on the automation team here at Rumsey Electric. Thanks for joining us today for our ongoing webinar series hosted by Rumsey Product Specialists. Today we'll be talking about the 4 S's of motor control, Allen Bradley MCCs. And I'd like to introduce Eric Zapka, who will take us through the presentation.
Thanks, Tony. Hi, everybody. And as Tony said, I'm Eric Zapka, an MCC product specialist here at Rumsey. First, just thank you all for taking the time to join us today. Our Rumsey Full Access webinar series continues with the 4 S's of motor control, specifically as it relates to Allen Bradley motor control centers. You'll find out what exactly this means in just a minute, but first we'll take a look at today's agenda. First, I'll give a brief bio about myself, and then I'll move into an introduction to the 4 S's, what they are and what they entail. The rest of the presentation will be broken up into several slides about those 4 S's, and they will contain information about the specific features related to each of those. Then I'll give a quick summary towards the end and provide key takeaways that we hope you leave with today. And at the very end, I'll provide contact information and resources that are related to this topic, and then we'll leave some time for a Q&A session. But if anybody thinks of anything during the presentation, as Tony said, feel free to utilize the chat function. But here's a quick bio about myself. I'm Eric Zapka, an MCC product specialist here at Rumsey Electric, and I'm based out of our Conshohocken, Pennsylvania location. I've been with Rumsey for about 2.5 years, and I started as an inside sales representative, and I've been in my current role for about 10 months. And as we see here, my personal hobbies consist mostly of outdoor activities and sports. And although I played ice hockey from age 3 or 4 all the way through college, I'd have to say my biggest passion now is probably fishing. And I've been fishing freshwater and saltwater with spinning tackle pretty much my whole life, but my latest obsession in the past few years is fly fishing and fly tying. And fly tying, it's kind of an extension into the fishing world and helps me blow off some steam and be able to be creative and stay busy during the cold winter months. So here we go with the introduction. Allen Bradley CENTERLINE MCCs have been around since the 1970s, and there's, believe it or not, actually quite a few of them still in service from the 70s and 80s, which really speaks to the ruggedness and quality of the equipment. And although the term CENTERLINE is used in Rockwell's low voltage, medium voltage, IEC, and NEMA MCC product lines, today's webinar and the features we discuss are specific to the CENTERLINE 2100 low voltage NEMA MCC. The basic design and structure has pretty much remained unchanged since its inception, which is actually a benefit for maintenance and upgrades, as we'll see a little bit later. And there are also new technologies, features, and components that have been made available in recent years that make these products safer, smarter, more secure, and more scalable than ever. And hence we have our 4 S's of motor control centers: safe, secure, smart, and scalable. You can think of these as descriptive qualities of Allen Bradley MCCs. And I guess our main goal today is to make you aware of the features that make these qualities possible, and to show you how Allen Bradley MCCs offer a very powerful and complete motor control solution, and also what sets them apart from other manufacturers. Here's a look at the design at a unit or bucket level. First, you have your interlock mechanism that prevents a unit from being inserted or withdrawn when the disconnect is in the on position. A unit load stab in the back actually helps extinguish arcing faults by segregating 3 phases. A unit ground stab, I think it's number 7 in that picture, actually plugs into it. There's a ground bus. And again, this just ensures complete and secure grounding, which, as we all know, is very important. So continuing on the design, Centerline MCCs actually got that name because of the unique location of the horizontal power bus, which, as you can see here, is right in the center of the MCC, and it just distributes power to each vertical section. The location of this bus actually accomplishes a few things. First, from a practical standpoint, it allows for a 300 amp rating above and below the horizontal bus for an effective 600 amp rating in each vertical section. For a long time, I think Allen Bradley was the only manufacturer to accomplish this. Secondly, this bus location allows for heat to be dissipated more effectively, which prevents the dangerous and rapid buildup of heat in the enclosure, and also extends the life of all of your components. And finally, the isolated location of the bus reduces the possibility and amount of short circuit events. Okay, now we're going to look at ArcShield, which is an optional safety feature that ensures a safe work environment by controlling and diverting the energy produced during an arc flash event. These ArcShield MCCs are tested in accordance with IEEE C37.20.7, which actually contains the standard for Type 2 accessibility. And what that means is that personnel are actually protected from arc flash events, whether they're standing in front, on the sides, or in the rear of the MCC. The test ensures that all the doors and parts remain attached to the enclosure and that there's no ignition during an arc flash incident. There are actually two options or ratings available in ArcShield. You can get either device limited and duration limited. The device limited rating, it contains an arcing fault long enough for the main protective device to clear the fault. And duration limited, it contains and withstands an arc fault for a specified amount of time, which in this case is 100 milliseconds. And throughout the next couple of slides, we'll go further into each of these and compare them. So here's just a visual comparison between device limited and duration limited ratings. You can kind of think of the duration rated version as being like a beefed up version with reinforced door hinges, back plates, additional grounding. It also has additional features that device limited MCCs do not have, such as there's a pressure relief system at the top and wireway baffles on some of the unit doors. It is important to note that although you might get a little bit more protection with the duration limited, you are not able to put in half space factor units or vented units in the MCC. This slide here actually shows some of the features of ArcShield and where exactly they're located. So there's the pressure relief system on the top that I just mentioned. There's also arc-resistant door latches, which allow pressure and heat to safely escape the enclosure without any parts or doors being blown off. You can also see there's a baffle on the middle unit on the right section. And then there's even an arc-resistant label that they put right there on the MCC nameplate, which is actually located on the vertical wireway cover. And you can't see them here because their doors are all on, but there's also, again, your manual and automatic shutters and your steel barriers and things like that. So we are going to talk about IntelliCENTER in depth later on, but I wanted to show you this now because IntelliCENTER and ArcShield can actually be used together for an even greater level of safety. And what we're talking about here is basically remote troubleshooting and maintenance allow all of the tasks that you see on this list to be completed without even going near the MCC and with all the unit doors remaining closed. So this obviously limits the exposure of personnel to dangerous voltages and hazards. So as you can see here from this list, you can do quite a lot without even going in or near the MCC. And more on that later. So our next safety feature is SecureConnect. And SecureConnect is also optional, and it's provided in plug-in units only. It's basically a design feature that allows somebody to disconnect power to an individual plug-in unit without opening the unit door. And I'll show exactly how that works on the next slide. But SecureConnect units can be inserted into standard ArcShield and IntelliCENTER MCCs. And not all the units have to be SecureConnect. Like you can have a SecureConnect bucket if you wanted to. It is important to note that SecureConnect buckets aren't really guaranteed to fit into every MCC. Sometimes if the MCC is older, we would have to look at the compatibility much closer. But newer MCCs within the past few years, and obviously like a new build, would be no problem. And here is a mechanical breakdown of how exactly this works. So once your disconnect handle is in the off position, you use a 1/4-inch hex socket wrench. There's a little insert shaft port that you'll see there. You actually turn that a 1/4 turn and put that to the disconnect position. And what that does is it actually unplugs the power stabs from the vertical power bus and retracts them into a stab housing. And once the power stabs go into that housing, a continuity circuit is actually completed. And you can test that through the status port that you see on the top of the, there's a picture there on the left. It's right above the disconnect handle. So now you basically have mechanical and electrical indication that the unit is disconnected from power. There's even an additional lockout tagout lever that can be used, and that's in between the status port and the disconnect handle. And the door, basically throughout this whole process of removing or replacing buckets, the door remains attached to the MCC and closed. So, again, you're just limiting exposure to live electrical parts and hazards while doing this maintenance on it. You can even take SecureConnect a step further, literally, by adding remote operator. And what this is it provides a wired or wireless connection to the unit, and it allows you to disconnect the unit from power while staying away from the MCC. So it's the same SecureConnect feature. You're just putting, I think it's the device in this picture here, the device all the way on the right. You put that on the unit door, and then you have your controller, whether it's wired or wireless, and it makes that disconnect function while you're standing away from the MCC. And again, it's just an optional safety feature, and it's designed to reduce exposure to electrical hazards. So here, this is the newest safety feature in Allen Bradley MCCs, and that is the incorporation of functional safety in certain unit types. Rockwell is actually the first manufacturer to accomplish this because they have both the components and the documentation for it to be completely validated. And as of right now, functional safety can be provided in certain VFD and starter units, and we'll go through each of these in the next few slides. So hopefully some of you recognize the Guardsman logo that you see here, as it's found on Rockwell's safety products, such as the Guardmaster switches. You may now also be seeing this on certain PowerFlex 750 MCC units, and that also comes with a SIL 3 PLE Cat 3 rating. This gets achieved basically by adding shielded cable, external 24-volt power for safety functions, and safety relays and option cards. This safety rating is verified, validated, and documented at the factory before it even ships. And the like I mentioned, the little logo will be actually on the unit door. So 2 other MCC unit types that can incorporate functional safety are PowerFlex 525 drives and full voltage non-reversing starter units. This is again achieved by using certain safety components such as safety relays and contactors. And although they are available to order right now, these unit types are not really as developed as the PowerFlex 750 drives. As of right now, they are ETO only, which is engineered to order, and they lack the factory validation and Guardsman logo, but Rockwell is working on that, and they hope to be done with these soon. There's also an entirely new unit type under the functional safety category, and that is the safety distribution unit. And this is essentially used to receive safety inputs, such as an e-stop, and then distribute hardwired safety signals to a safety starter or drive. Like the PowerFlex 525 and starter units, these units right now lack factory validation and the Guardsman logo, but like I mentioned, they are working on that, and they are ETO only at this time. Okay, now we'll look at how Allen Bradley MCCs are secure. And this is actually the shortest section. There are no really standalone features like we saw in the safety section, but by design, Rockwell MCCs provide a centralized location for all of your motor control equipment and sensitive components. You know where everything is, and you can keep it under lock and key. The underlying point here is that these MCCs protect your equipment and data from physical and cyber threats by reducing the number of network and physical access points. Okay, now we go to the smart section. And when we refer to Allen Bradley MCCs as smart, we're talking about IntelliCENTER. We can probably do an entire webinar just on IntelliCENTER, but today we'll just provide a kind of a high-level overview. IntelliCENTER technology consists of three main components. The first is a built-in Ethernet IP network. The second is intelligent motor control devices. And the third is the IntelliCENTER software itself. The combination of all this technology allows you to get real-time data and diagnostic information from your equipment, and as well as allow you to control, monitor, and maintain your equipment remotely. The huge benefits here are improved uptime with predictive maintenance and reduced startup and integration time. And now we'll just take a walk through each of these three aspects of the IntelliCENTER software. So this is kind of an example of what the built-in Ethernet IP network looks like. As you can see, there's an Ethernet cable. I think it's the green cabling on the diagram here. It's connected to each motor control device in each individual unit, and then it's actually wired through the vertical wireway channels to Ethernet switches. With the networked MCC, you can greatly reduce installation and startup time because the cabling, configuration, and validation is all completed before it leaves the factory. So networked MCCs utilize the Stratix 5700 managed switch. For those unfamiliar with this product, they are an industrial quality and very secure managed Ethernet switch. We can provide various port capacities and mounting locations in the MCC, and then you can set them up in a variety of different types of network topologies and configurations, whatever your needs or requirements call for. This is a little list of the intelligent motor control devices that are used in IntelliCENTER MCCs. Hopefully you are all familiar with some of these at least, such as the PowerFlex drives and SMC soft starters. I think the newest addition here would be the E300 overload relay. And an important note here is that the E1 Plus that you are all probably familiar with, it will be discontinued in 2021. So this means that the E300 will eventually be the only intelligent or network-capable overload relay available from Rockwell, and therefore the only one to be incorporated in an IntelliCENTER MCC. So now we'll just take a quick look at the software itself. And by using different view types within the software, you can quickly and easily get real-time diagnostics and data from your equipment. You can also view all the documentation of your MCC as it was built, And this includes things such as wiring diagrams, spare parts lists, etc. So you can basically view critical status information of the entire MCC, and you can even dig into each individual unit itself. So it's a very powerful tool. It's kind of can be considered a window into your MCC. You don't have to open any doors to see what's going on. You can literally monitor everything that you would need to know about it from a computer. Another cool thing is that even new units and sections that are added to the MCC in the future, they'll actually show up in the software automatically. And as mentioned before, in the safety section, you can monitor and configure devices remotely, which again reduces the need to approach the MCC or interrupt your process. And another great feature of the IntelliCENTER software is Premier Integration Assistant. And this really reduces your startup and installation time. Basically allows an IntelliCENTER MCC to be seamlessly integrated into a Logix control system. So if you're using Logix, this is a really helpful tool. And by using Studio 5000 and add-on profiles and things like that, you can quickly and easily store device parameters and add devices in the future. And again, this saves critical time, for programming, startup, and things like that. And it also, by storing those parameters, reduces your programming time and errors that potentially could be made. So this is a kind of a summary in Rockwell's words of what they call the connected enterprise. And I'll just read it quickly for everybody. The connected enterprise consists of industrial operations that are intelligent, optimized, and secure. Central to achieving the connected enterprise is the convergence of information technology, IT, and operations technology, OT, into a single unified architecture to capitalize on operational, business, and transactional data for improved enterprise operations and supply chain performance. And it's, I guess, if I were to put it in my own words, it's basically the idea of using intelligent motor control devices and network solutions to connect the corporate office to the plant floor. The quick access to data and diagnostics allows you to make faster and more informed decisions and, increase your business's overall operational efficiency. Having that data at your fingertips and being able to share that almost instantaneously is very important. This is something that we have already seen some customers benefit from across multiple industries, and it's definitely something that we'll probably continue to see in the future. Okay, so scalability is actually the final S of our 4 S's, and it refers to the ability to quickly replace, upgrade, and expand your existing Allen Bradley MCC. The basic design and space factor system allow you to really optimize the space to meet your needs, and plug-in units are quickly and easily removed and installed. Larger equipment, something like a larger horsepower drive, can also be added in a new section, which is actually bolted and spliced to the existing MCC. So the big benefit here is the ability to quickly and easily adapt to your needs as they change, which, as you all know, probably happens all the time. Whether it's, you have old equipment that needs to be replaced, that's not used anymore, or if you're planning for expansion or an increased demand. It's very, very easy to quickly add units as you see fit. So here is actually a look at a plug-in unit and what comes with it when you order one. You have the unit itself, a unit door, and the unit support pan. And these plug-in units ship ready to install from the factory, again allowing for very quick acquisition and installation. As mentioned before, a consistent design over the years allows for forward and backward compatibility of plug-in units. So if you have an older MCC, and you can actually take a plug-in unit out of that and put it into a newer MCC, or vice versa. You can take buy a new bucket and put it into an older MCC. There are certain things to look for and be cautious of, but one of the things that we'll ask for first when you're looking to get a new bucket or unit is the serial number of the existing MCC. And with that, we can look up all of the necessary information to make sure that it's truly compatible. So with the exception of SecureConnect units, like I mentioned earlier, mixing old and new equipment can pretty much be easily achieved as long as everything is looked over properly. So again, we'll just touch on IntelliCENTER again as it pertains to the scalability aspect of Rockwell MCCs. Those factory configured Ethernet IP networks allow for reduced startup time and quick installation. Configurations and parameters can all be stored in a controller, allowing for fast and simple device replacement. Okay, so here's just a quick summary. And it's really what we wanted to do today was to make people aware of these features who might not have been already. And I think the key takeaways and most important features here were IntelliCENTER, ArcShield, and SecureConnect. If you're already having to make an investment into an MCC, it's tough to put an exact number on it, but I mean, within a 20% additional, you can get all of these features. And again, that's obviously depends on the size of the MCC, then other requirements and things that might be added. But like I said, if you're already making an investment into an MCC, it's definitely worth considering these features. Some of them, like automatic shutters and things like that, they're probably minuscule in terms of a cost difference. So, it's definitely worth looking at these features when conversations start taking place. You can know for sure that your personnel are going to remain safe when they have to work on this equipment and replace equipment, add new equipment, and things like that. And again, this is just kind of an extension of the blog that I don't know if people have seen on our website, but the 4 S's of motor control centers, specifically Allen Bradley CENTERLINE 2100 motor control centers. They are really a safe, smart, secure, and scalable, and really just a complete motor control solution. Here's just a quick slide. On the left there, you have Rumsey MCC Specialist. That is my phone number and email address. And some of you, if you've worked with MCCs with us before, you probably know Chip Vanderveer. That's his phone number and email there as well. And on the right here, just some quick links, which I think will be sent out to everybody on the registration list. There's a brochure, selection guide, and then specific documentation on SecureConnect, IntelliCENTER, and things like that. And just a link to Rockwell's homepage. And with that, that is all that I had. And we'll leave this time for any questions or comments that anybody might have.
Thanks, Eric. I didn't see anything in the chat, but if anybody has any questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask them now. Eric, can you go back one slide? I just wanted to go back to the previous slide, if you don't mind. Everybody in attendance is going to get a copy of this presentation, and the links that you see here that Eric pointed out on the right on the last slide. And then, there's Eric and Chip's contact information. Two things I wanted to add. It's around 12 o'clock. We just have a few minutes, so I'm going to just expand on two things if everyone doesn't mind. Eric mentioned SMART and IntelliCENTER for smart, and he also mentioned safe. Wanted to point out that the functional safety option that he was discussing is unique to Rockwell. So you're going to be able to utilize the motor control output of your MCC and incorporate it into your risk assessment process. So you could realistically have an e-stop set up on your MCC, your safety relay, and your motor control output, all documented with verification plans, all documented for you as part of the MCC shipment. So that's of real value. And the other one is the E300 overload relay that he mentioned. The MCC lines are going to be standardizing on this E300 overload. And I don't think everybody realizes the value of that unit. The E1 Plus overload that we've all been familiar with over the years is a great relay, and it provides essentially phase loss. But the E300 can do more in terms of predictive maintenance. It can actually give you a warning for what's called percent TCU. Will gives you what it is. It's an internal calculation that combines amperage and time, and that value can only be drawn out via Ethernet. And what it does is it'll give you a value between 0 and 100%. So if your motor's about to trip, you'll be able to get an indication before it actually trips. And that warning can come out in terms of an email, a text, an HMI operator. So it's a real value for that E300 overload relay. That relay also handles things like ground fault, RTD indication. It gives indication of current and voltage imbalance and over and under voltages, which we know that, those are terms we use a lot: imbalance for voltage, imbalance for current, over and under voltage. But they bring heat to the motor, which reduces the life of a motor. And you can actually get indication of when that's happening and get pre-warnings that are sent out to either operators or maintenance people. It can also, that E300 overload relay can also detect power factor and energy. So it has a metering function. It actually acts as a mini power monitor. So you can actually draw out the power factor and energy used by that motor assembly through that relay. It's got internal device logics built into it and extra I/O. So instead of having all of your auxiliary contacts on your switch and your contactor and your start-stop wiring, everything can be done via the overload and sent back through Ethernet. So all that individual wiring would disappear. And then with device logics, you can pull the control away from your remote PLC and bring it to the MCC. And not only can handle I/O locally, but it can handle any kind of network interruption. So it's got some real power, and I wanted to just take the time to go over some of these features to make sure everybody's understood. Now, all this information can come out via an operator interface to an operator, or it can come on via like a maintenance person or an engineering person via text or email. So real power. It's got an embedded web page. So that E300 is a real good win for that MCC line. And I just wanted you to hear more about it from a predictive maintenance viewpoint. So don't see any questions. If on this slide or on the previous slide, there is a link to the Rumsey webinar series, which continues every Tuesday at 11:30. If you just click on that, you can register for what sounds interesting, or if the webinar is passed, just click on the on-demand link and it'll take you to the recorded session on our YouTube channel, and you can watch that at your convenience. So if there's no other questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Are there any physical barriers or physical isolation between different sections of horizontal bus and different section of vertical versus horizontal bus? Yes.
Chip, you want to chime in?
Be nice.
It'd be nice to unmute yourself. Nope, can't hear you now.
How about now?
Now I can hear you.
All righty. Yeah, well, the horizontal bus is one continuous bus throughout the MCC. So other than the isolation between the sections, which are full metal plates going back and forth, up and down in the, in the vertical, is protection between sections. As far as the vertical bus goes, you saw that Bakelite red plastique material that goes the total length in the back of the MCC, isolating that from the front. And also Eric touched on our different options for the shutters. We have no option, just a hole for the shutter. You can get plastic caps to go over those shutters, or the automatic shutters, which will withdraw when you enter a bucket. We can get you more information on that, but does that basically answer the question?
Yes, it did.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you, Eric. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you to, thanks, Eric, for putting this presentation together. And thanks to Nicole, our marketing team, for setting up all the logistics of this event. If you have any specifics you need to follow up on, just contact either Eric or Chip, and as you need to. And thanks to everyone for taking the time, and have a great rest of your day.